Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Here we have the final dual land tournament from Scholars Games. They are closing down October 6th, 2018. And here we have Fun Police versus Andrew on Death Shadow. Fun Police, a deck that Barra has put a lot of hours into. A red-white moon deck with Chalice. Of course, white adds a lot of spicy options. Stoneforge Mystic, Nahiri potentially. He's really had quite a lot of fun with this list over the years. And here, perhaps not the most fun element of it, he is mulling to 5. Trying, going to the bottom. You got to feel pretty good going up against that as a Death Shadow opponent. And Goblin Rabblemaster on the first turn, cycle Street Wraith in response. And Barra going first, a huge deal here that Day's not going to be able to counter this Rabblemaster. And this actually does threaten to take over the game pretty quickly. This can go very wide. Thoughtseize an option. Bear only 1 card left in hand. Likely not as good as Rabblemaster. He actually has the Fatal Push, so fetch land plus Fatal Push, good enough to stabilize here, and now this is really swung back in the other direction. Just a 1/1 token crashing in. Chalice at 1. Is there an answer for this? And Andrew scoops it up to Chalice. A bit shocking there. Still had a lot of turns left. He was at 9 with just a 1/1 on board. Gurmag Angler would have been able to stabilize from there. Very, very interesting. He still had potentially Force of Wills and Dazes that he could use. Gurmag Angler that he could draw into. Decides not to continue moving forward there. We'll see how much time ends up on the clock. Could be the right play. There are times where you need to throw away even a 5 or 10% chance of winning a game just because you do not want to waste that much time off of games 2 and, well, of course, game 3. I mean, if you lose game 2, then you're out of it either way. But, you know, when you go into that game 3, you need to position yourself so you can actually close it out. So this could be the right play from Andrew. Let me know what you think in the comments. Was that scoop a pro play, or was it missing out on some of his outs? Looked to me like Surgical was going in. That leaves me a little confused as well. We'll see if that actually comes up. That might not have actually been it. Perhaps it was another card. Barra taking down game number 1. On a mull to 5 on the strength of a singleton 1/1 Goblin. Chalice of the Void may have had something to do with it. All right, here we go. Death Shadow. Realized I am on the wrong side of the screen. Boom. Traveling through time and space here. All right. Hopefully see the rest of Barra's board a little more effectively. All right, so Barra again being selective. Street Wraith being cycled. Fun Police has no Brainstorm, no Ponder, no card selection, no Preordain. So it does need to be very cautious with its opening hands. Going to mulligan more than your average deck. And frankly, if a Blood Moon effect resolves, that can be the absolute end for Death Shadow. I mean, there's no way of them casting spells through it. It pretty much just becomes Dismember or Bust. Thoughtseize here sees Stoneforge Mystic, Chalice of the Void, Batterskull already in hand, a red card that I can't quite identify. Chalice is the biggest threat there, and that is taken. Force of Will on the Stoneforge. Death Shadow all the way down to 12 already. Thoughtseize, Street Wraith doing work on his own life total. Wasteland taking out that plateau. And a Chalice off the top like a champion. Force of Will. So now Andrew down 2 cards over the course of the game there with those forces. But well worth it. Chalice would have cut off a lot more cards than that. You talk about card advantage. Typically you think about blue decks drawing a ton of extra cards, or a card like Ad Nauseam just generating a massive amount of bulk card draw. Card advantage also can look like just shutting off of those resources. Your opponent not being able to use those cards is certainly a strong way of thinking about it. I like to think about card advantage as something that's constantly in flux. Your opponent's turn, your hand size might be 0, depending on the type of deck that you play, if you don't have any way of interacting. So this Death Shadow, 7/7, solid 3-turn clock. Barra jamming Chrome Mox. And passing the turn. Can he get his life down to 3? Make this a 2-turn clock? And he's gonna Surgical. The Surgical did come in versus this Stompy deck. Very interesting. Gonna get rid of the other Chalices. But frankly, I disagree with it. I think you're happy for him to top deck a Chalice. Yeah, no, this is... I don't agree with that. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think that you want your opponent to draw a Chalice here. You certainly don't want them to draw another land. They can just cast Humility. Chalice does absolutely nothing to deal with the situation. This may still be a 2-turn clock. Stoneforge Mystic. A speed bump in the way of that Death Shadow. It was either going to be 1 or 2 more turns. That is connecting to the face. If Barra can keep getting out blockers, we'll have a problem. And no, he's got Fatal Push and Reanimate, taking away those final 2 points of life. So Death Shadow does get the reach. Andrew takes down game number 2, tying it up to go into the critical game 3 here. First round of the tournament. This is going to set the path for one of these guys for a potential straight line into the top 8. I think we had 27 or so players here, so under 32, 5 rounds. You want to go 3-0, take a couple of draws, end up in the top 8, have a chance at that tropical island tundra. And this time, Berra on the play. Let's see if he can keep a 7. He cannot. Absolutely brutal here with the mulligans. But as I said, it really does need to be selective. Brand new Old Gods playmat on the left side. Commemorating Scholars, one of the, perhaps the final Scholars playmat to be made. We'll see. Ancient Tomb Go from Berra. Thoughtseize is going to show Batterskull and Magus of the Moon. Magus of the Moon likely going to be the target here, so we're going to see a turn 3 Batterskull in all likelihood. Ancient Tomb, a very interesting card. In Vintage, it's been used many times to get around the many sphere effects. And Simian Spirit Guide puts this Batterskull in play ahead of schedule. Now that germ is pretty easy to remove with any type of removal, aside from Snuff Out. Dismember or Fatal Push will get rid of that germ token. Don't forget that. It's not the converted mana cost of Batterskull. That is a 0 casting cost token. It is not that tough. See if Andrew's more conservative with his life total now that this Batterskull is going to be helping him kind of bleed out a little bit. It's going to be 4 a turn. On the other side of that, he's also going to have to find a way to make up the ground that Berra gains in terms of his life total. We'll potentially see, 4 swings before Andrew stabilizes here. That would allow Berra to gain 16 life, making the work a lot harder. Delver, not really a fan of life gain. Blood Moon. Will this do it? It does. Blood Moon ends it. That really shuts off all the options for Death Shadow. It doesn't run any basics, in part because if you don't have access to your mana base damaging you, your Death Shadows are going to be hot garbage. So that is it for round 1. Berra taking it out on the back of Blood Moon just the way he prefers it. That's all for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please help grow the channel by subscribing. You'll be notified when we upload new videos like Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic with commentary, or Untapped, our raw tournament gameplay. Thanks for watching.